Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hot Seat with Cognizant Clay. I am your host, Clayton Terrio. Today on the show, we have Brad Norris. Brad is the chair of the Hamilton Professional Firefighters Association Charity and Community Support Group. They do work with several local charities in the Hamilton area, including the Hamilton General Hospital Foundation, the Flamborough Flyers Ringette Special Olympics team, the Hamilton Bulldogs, Muscular Dystrophy Canada, and several others. Before becoming a firefighter, Brad was in kinesiology and sports management. He has been a firefighter for 8 years and has been a volunteer for the charity since 2013. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Well, first of all, Brad, thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. I'm excited. Hey, you told me you got some rapid fire questions at some point. I'm a little scared, but we'll see what happens.
That's all good. It's all good. A lot of people get nervous about it, but don't worry about the rapid aspect of it. It's just a little bit of randomness in there.
Good. Sounds good.
Well, first of all, how are you doing, Brad? How's it going?
Things are great, right? Obviously off today. Just dealing with the nice weather, and work is going well. Work is busy. Some days that's good. Obviously, for us to do our job, but it's progressing.
Awesome. And how has COVID affected you? I'm curious about that.
COVID, as it's affected the job, we've had some changes to some of our policies on how we respond. Obviously, we've lots of changes to our PPE, and you hear about that all the time in the media. So we've gone through some different variations, and I think we've settled on department standpoint something that's really and functional for COVID. So it's different, but it's part of the job. What everybody on the front line.
Exactly. And so for my guests who don't know, you're a firefighter for the Hamilton Fire Department. However, it wasn't always like that. So you originally obtained a degree in kinesiology with a certificate in sport administration from York University. So you worked with the Argos, the Ontario Hockey Federation, Mississauga Hockey League, amongst others. What was it about kinesiology and sports management that interested you?
You know what? It's one of those stories. Kinesiology. I came out of high school and really didn't know what I wanted to do. It was the fancy word for phys ed. So loved sports, got into it, and luckily, while I was taking my kin degree, there was a certificate for sport administration. Looked into that, was accepted, and fortunately did that for 3 years, and then ended up with the job with the Argos right out of university. So from that perspective, it was successful getting into a sports organization like that, getting a ton of really great experience.
Definitely. And do you remember kind of when it clicked in your mind that that's what you wanted to go to school for?
Well, it's interesting, Clayton, because when I was going through taking kin, taking sport admin, it was interesting. It was exciting. You're being around the sports teams or the organizations, and I love being involved in sports, so it seemed to go hand in hand. But right near the end, and right when I started, I realized that this isn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and I started looking at fire almost right away. But unfortunately, student loan and bills and all these things come into play. So I had to see it through, and ended up working in sports for 10 years. And I experienced some really neat stuff. Just working at the Argos for 3 seasons, and being on the field for every game, getting to know all of those individuals in that capacity, and then moving on to minor sports, amateur sports with the Ontario Hockey Federation, and then even a little bit more local with the Mississauga Hockey League. And that all those had different experiences, and I think it served me well for my job right now as a firefighter, and even more so for working with the charity aspect of it that we'll talk about in a little bit. But no regrets. I mean, would I like to have been a firefighter 10 years earlier? Probably, but I got met a ton of great people.
Definitely. And what are some of your favorite or top memories from those times in that industry?
Well, you know what, Argos, obviously being around that atmosphere, and those would have been like the night before the game, where the field's down, the staff has done, front office staff has done everything that they can to prepare for the game the next day, and we get a chance to go down on the field and try our hand at kicking some field goals or playing a game of touch or whatever it is. That's a great experience. And then obviously being on the field for the game, some of the big games back then, and just that whole atmosphere, the electricity in the stadium, especially when it was full, and just seeing that all that work come to fruition. Obviously not just from the players and all the work that they were doing, coaching staff, but all the work that the front office staff would try and put together something that was entertaining and exciting and trying to bring fans back. So those types of memories definitely stick.
Yeah, and I'm guessing they were at Rogers Center at that time, right? They probably hadn't moved to BMO Field yet, right?
Oh, no, this was back in 99, 2000, 2001. Big transition. Pinball was still playing, but he was transitioning to a front office position as well. Paul Mazzotti was doing the same thing. So big names in the CFL at the time, and then getting to work with them a little bit in the front office was a really great experience as well.
Yeah, Pinball's like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
He's incredible, and the memory that he has. There was an autograph session for season ticket holders on the field, and there were hundreds and hundreds of fans who came on the field to meet every player. And by the end of it, all the other players were done, and there was still a lineup the length of the field for Pinball. And he didn't. It was unbelievable because it's like he knew everybody by name. He'd met them before, and the ability for him to connect was absolutely incredible and awe-inspiring. It's a gift. It's so genuine, kind, especially in situations like that. I was really impressed.
Yeah, I went to one of their practices. I want to say 2000 or 2001, which is funny because you would have been working with the team, and I have a picture with Dan Ferroni and Pinball Clemens, and like I just remember Pinball making me laugh as a little kid because he's just such a funny guy as well, and he's definitely one of the icons for Toronto sports, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely, right. He's just recognizable everywhere he goes. Was that at the U of T campus in Mississauga? Is that where you went to the practice?
It may have been. I think it was. Now that I think of it, it must have been.
Yeah, there was a couple times. I wonder if we crossed paths. Wouldn't that be interesting, if we had been there at the same time?
You never know. You never know. That's what I'm thinking. So just moving on a bit. So you attended sorry, I'm just looking down at my notes so I get this right. The Essential Services Academy in Sherwood Park, Alberta, for pre-service firefighting certification. So what made you want to switch over to firefighting?
It's one of those things too. As I mentioned, I had got my degree and quickly realized that this isn't what I wanted to do, and started looking into it, but realized I needed more schooling and didn't have the time or the ability at that point to do it. So had to unfortunately wait for a few years, 10 years. And at that point it was, listen, speaking with my wife, Tara, I either do this now or I don't do it. It's what I want to do for the next 25 years. So it's a long time to be in a career that you don't enjoy. Doing and firefighting is what I wanted. So we just pulled the gun and said, or pulled the pin, and said, let's do it. We head out with a 4-month program and learned so much out there as well. And then came back, found a job, and started applying to fire jobs. And it took about a year and a half, which isn't long compared to a lot of people. So I feel very fortunate that I got on to Hamilton Fire in about 18 months after graduating. And I'm so happy that it was Hamilton that I got on to. Such a great department, such a great association. They provide so many opportunities, and I feel very lucky. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know a few people that it took 4 or 5, even 6 years to get on, and not even just Hamilton, just whatever they apply to. Like it's a hard job to get into. And what was it like getting hired by Hamilton? Because that is one of the bigger departments in Canada, actually. So what was that like?
Well, and they have a great reputation for it being a well-rounded, and others would say difficult recruit training period. And by difficult, I mean they make sure that you're trained well, that you have all of the experiences that you need to be ready once you hit the floor in a station. So the expectations for not only your theoretical but your practical are very high, and they make it well known that this is the expectations are that you learn, you understand, and that you're able to translate that. So the experience was probably one of the most difficult, tiring and draining, but completely worth it because it's the dream job. I can't imagine being anywhere else.
For sure. And who were some of your colleagues that helped when you first got hired? Like, who are some names that really helped you with your transition into firefighting?
In the actual stations, the first person that comes to mind is his name is Larry Reese. He was one of the instructors, but he was at the station that I got assigned to. He had been on for 25 or 26 years at that point. He's now retired, but just the knowledge that he had, the ability for him to just be calm and see situations, not get that tunnel vision. Obviously, you get sometimes when you're a probationary firefighter, you watch individuals like that. You see how you want to be. You learn from those people. I was really fortunate. The station that I got on at, we had a number of firefighters that had been on for 25 or 30 years. So having the 5 years to be able to learn from those individuals was invaluable. There's been such a turnover in Hamilton. I'm assuming lots of other departments too, that if you don't have that experience, it's too bad because you can learn so much from those individuals. Rob Smith, obviously, but who connected. He was instrumental as well. He had a couple of golden nuggets that he'd provide any time I had to work with him. So there's people that stick out. There's probably too many to list and too many at this point. Definitely, there's people who have helped form and shape where I am today, and still people doing that for the rest of my career, I'm sure.
Definitely. Larry's a great guy. Actually, when I was younger, I went to watch a training session, and it was just so fascinating as a kid, like just seeing how intense it really is to be on that kind of job. And having Rob as a stepdad has been amazing. Like he's taught me so much to just, keep moving forward. Like bad stuff is going to happen in your life, but we have people like you and the EMS and the police to keep us safe. And he always taught me that you guys are the first responders and we should all be grateful because you never know when we're going to need a firefighter or an ambulance driver or a policeman to help. And it's definitely cool. And I'm curious, like, is there anything that you didn't expect from like when you first got hired, like maybe something you didn't learn in the academy that you were surprised at when you were on the job?
I think there's always things that are a little bit different from the classroom, and from a controlled environment. I can't really say anything's going to stand out, but there's things that are always done maybe a little bit differently, or things occur that you don't expect. There's always situations that they can't mimic in training. So I can't say that I was ever surprised about some of these things, but it's just a little bit different. Really, unfortunately, I don't have a really great story to say, oh my God, this happened, and they told us it wouldn't, and it's not there. Sorry.
Exactly. Well, and it's just, I think it's just more intense than being in a classroom. That's all. Like, you know what I mean? You can train all you want, but some situations you kind of just have to, like you say, the tunnel vision thing. You get tunnel vision and you just do it. There's no, you don't really have a choice when you're in that industry. So you just kind of got to do it. And the last thing about that is what are some of your favorite memories so far from being a firefighter?
Well, I mean, it they're different, but not different. But like my first fire, for example, right? That's a great. It's I'll never forget, and everything that went along with that experience. All those firsts. First, car accident where we're able to take a car apart and properly provide medical assistance to somebody. And those types of situations. The first time I drove one of the rigs, everything, those first all stand out. And then it's the camaraderie in the station. It's being around the people on the job, the men and women. Just you're with them for 24 hours, so you develop these strong relationships and bonds because you have to trust these people in emergency situations, and you get to know people very well. So from a great memories, they're constantly being created, and I feel very fortunate for the people that we're able to work with because those are the people that you're trusting your life with, and they're
Definitely, and there I could just imagine the first fire. That must have been crazy, and it's probably so much adrenaline. I could not imagine.
well, and I was again lucky. I had some veteran officer and a firefighter with me, so it was one of those just watch what they're doing, follow them, and they're not going to lead us astray. But definitely, there's a bit of adrenaline when you get that first one, and you'll remember it for sure.
Definitely. Well, there's some interesting stories. So I'm going to do the rapid fire segment now before we get to the charity part. And again, don't worry about the rapidness part. It's okay. A lot of people have frozen for like 30 seconds thinking of an answer, so it's okay. So first off, I always focus on where the person's from. Who would be your favorite person from Ontario?
From Ontario, anybody alive, dead?
Anybody alive, dead, famous, not famous, whatever.
Oh, Clayton! Wow, that's a good one. I got to say, my wife, she's in earshot. Tara, yeah, Tara Mosey. Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. It's always good to get brownie points too, so definitely. And so what is your favorite thing to eat?
That pizza, easily. Pizza for sure.
Pizza. So many options. That's a common answer. It's a very common answer. The other one would be steak or sushi. Those are my top three answers I've gotten on the show. What was your dream job when you were a kid?
Oh wow. Probably to play hockey. Probably to play in the NHL as a young kid, and then eventually it was Olympics. Go to the Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely hockey. That's a true Canadian answer. And what would be your favorite sport?
Honestly, once I stopped playing hockey, it transitioned. I love track and field. I love watching that. That's the Olympics. Yeah, disappointed it didn't happen this year, so definitely looking forward to when they can start getting the athletes back out and participating. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a shame. I love the Olympics, and golf is one of my favorite sports. So I was pretty excited when they reintegrated golf because like it's a fascinating sport. Anybody can win that. I know that's true for any sport, but golf especially is one where it's everybody against the golf course and anybody can win. So I was excited for that. I love the track and field, any sport really, winter or summer. And in the hockey aspect, who is your favorite hockey team?
Oh, back then it was the Oilers. Yeah, it was the Oilers. It was Ryan Smith. Uh, he was just a guy that just never gave up, and played hurt and just didn't stop. I was always impressed, and he just gave that little bit of, just showed you how hard it is to make it, and then you have to keep working hard. So, Ryan Smith.
Definitely, Ryan Smith was great, and I remember the last year he played. They showed the last game of the year, and there was a 4-minute power play for the Oilers, and he played the entire 4 minutes. He didn't leave the ice the whole time, and it was like, dude, you're 40 years old. How do you do it? Like, there's 20-year-olds that can't even do that. So he's definitely one of the cooler ones that's ever played. I mean, other than the obvious Gretzky's, Messier's, and Yari Curry's, he's definitely a big one. And last question of the rapid fire. I love asking this one. If you could be anybody, and this is usually famous, living or dead for 24 hours, who would you choose?
Wow. This is the 30-second blank space. Anybody for 30 seconds, a lot. I could just give you a famous person and we'd be done. But the reality is, I'd love to have been one of my grandfathers for 24 hours. They both have been hugely impactful for me. My dad's dad ended up overseas in World War II for 5 years. I'd like to known what that was like for him for 24 hours. And my mom's dad was an incredibly hardworking farmer for decades. What it was like for him through all this time. Really, they both had a tenacity and an ability to just keep going, and were so kind and good. Just really helped me model who I would want to be as that type of person. So yeah, if I get a chance, that'd be great to be them for see what it's like for them for 24 hours.
That's a great answer. I like that.
Pretty one, but yeah, nobody's gonna know who I'm talking about, but that's okay.
That's all right. It's a good answer. It's definitely better than most of the other ones. No offense to my other guests, but a lot of times it's like, okay, that's too easy. Like there's a lot you could have picked, but it is what it is. Everybody's different. So just going back into the questions a bit to touch on the charity, as my guests can see from your shirt. So you began volunteering for the Hamilton Professional Firefighter Association charity and community support events in 2013, and you actually became the committee chair in 2016. So before I get into like some of the events and whatnot, how did it come about that you started working for them? And also just a little further, what's your role as the chairman of the organization?
So our association, the Hamilton Professional Firefighters Association, Local 288, has a registered charity. It's been around since 1967. So what we try to do is an association, and most associations across the world try and push their members to volunteer in the community. And every year it puts together a list of events or charities that we're going to support. So right when we're in training, we're told that there's an expectation to be involved. And in something, whether it's something outside of the community, like obviously participating in a Remembrance Day or a Labor Day. But with our charity and community support aspect, it's one of those things where the firefighters have this standing in the community where we have an opportunity to help make a difference, where maybe other professions don't have that regard. And it's not better or less or more. It's just whatever that persona is. It's trusted and it's respected, and it gives us a chance to do things. For example, boot drives, where we're standing in a shopping mall or at an event, and we're requesting people to put donations into the boot, and we are able to spread that back. It's never for us to purchase new equipment or anything like that, but maybe that's not the same reaction that garbage men or accountants are going to get if they're standing on the corner with a boot, right? So it's just it's understanding that because we have that opportunity, we have a responsibility to use that opportunity to help make a difference. So when I got on, they made it clear that the senior staff and the people who've been on for years that help out, volunteer, get involved. If there's something that we're doing, try and spend some time supporting whatever the cause is.
Definitely. And then what is your role as the chairman? Like what does that consist of?
So the chair of the committee, I'm fortunate. I have two members on the committee, Mark Graham and Corey DeCou. So they make up the rest of the committee. But as a chair, it's coordinating the calendar for the year. So the events that we're going to support from a community perspective, and then doing whatever fundraising we can do so that we can help organizations. So it's through those fundraising events, it's whether we're creating something new, just operating something that's been on for a while, or trying to coordinate something with a community member to raise funds. Managing our payroll contribution system is one of the big. I don't know if you wanted to touch on this a little bit later, if you wanted me to go into that part now.
No, go ahead now. Yeah, you might as well now.
So payroll contributions, almost every member in our association makes a donation on every paycheck, and we're able to take those funds and donate that back to the community, and it doesn't take any work to have. We don't have to organize a fundraiser. We don't have to stand in the corner and do the boot drives or anything like that. And we work to ensure that those funds go back to the Hamilton community and go back to those organizations that work to have their percent on the dollar going to the actual cause, a high percent on it. So there's those really break it down to the management of what we're going to do from support and from fundraising.
Awesome. That's great that a lot of their paychecks go to it. Like that's big. Like that's good to hear that a solid percentage of the firefighters do that, and that's really cool. And so the first kind of campaign I wanted to touch on, because you had mentioned it, but I'd also, on the Hamilton Firefighters for Charity Instagram, I noticed pictures of it, and that's the Sirens for Life blood donor campaign. Can you just tell me a little bit about what that is and what you guys are trying to accomplish with that?
Absolutely. It's one of my favorites. So every year, Canadian Blood Services organizes a national campaign, and it involves firefighters, paramedics, and police. And we participate in each municipality, respective municipality, participate in a friendly competition to see who can recruit the most blood donors. And before I got onto the charity, I hadn't donated blood. I didn't understand the importance, or just wasn't aware, and quickly realized how many of my own family members have needed blood in the past, and how much blood is needed on a daily basis for so many different reasons. And we see it on a regular basis in our job. So it goes hand in hand for us to be involved in this type of community action. So it goes for the months of July and August. And not only do we compete against police and paramedics, but we also make it fun within our own association. And we have the platoons, whichever platoon raises the most donors, and wins a small prize. But we're fortunate over the last few years to have done really well and have been able to win that competition for the last 3 or 4 years. And looks like this year too, we're hoping to break a record in the amount of donors that we're able to get. And part of it isn't just our recruiting our members and family and friends to donate. It's trying to spread the word to the rest of the community and engaging them and indicate and showing that, you know, we're donating. We would love it if you would come out, support Sirens for Life. I don't care which first responder you support. The total number at the end of the day is the most important. I keep getting this interesting stat from Canadian Blood Services where only 4% of eligible, or 4% of Canadians actually donate, of those being eligible donors. And it's such a small number, whereas we'll know somebody. Everybody knows, we'll eventually know somebody who needs some blood products. We just had one of our members donated blood on his donation day that we had for his platoon back in July, and he went home. He had been donating because a family member had needed it for years. So this was his 50th blood donation that he had done, and he went home to let the family member know. And unfortunately, the person that he was going to let know had a farming accident, and he coincidentally got there, helped him, get him to the hospital, and he needed a couple dozen different blood products during the operations and likely still will need a little bit more. But the timing of it was incredible. And I don't want to go into too much detail here. It might be something that we talk about another time, just because it's so fresh. But talk about the timing, the coincidence. He just donated. This family member all of a sudden has a tragic accident, is doing fine now, but needed it immediately. So it really hits home that it can happen at any time. You just don't know. So again, from us, it's one of those opportunities where we can make a difference. But we do. We try to.
Yeah, that is a coincidence, and 50 donations. That's incredible. Like, what a guy. That's super generous. And I think the number, your record is like 146 donations, right, for the 2-month period. I think that's what you said.
It is, yeah. And I'm looking at our numbers now, and I think we're going to get well over 150. Maybe I'd love it to be 200. So we'll somewhere in there would be fantastic. I'll know in the end of the month.
Awesome, for sure. Keep me updated on that, because that's I'm curious for sure. And so just moving on a bit, so I've heard a lot of the fire guys that I know talk about the Flamborough Flyers indoor ringette game, which, again, if the guests don't know, the Flamborough Flyers are a Special Olympics team that plays ringette. So I'm just curious, like, how did that come about, and what, like, just what kinds of things do you do for the Flamborough Flyers? Like, I'm curious for sure.
Yeah, this is a game, indoor ringette game that we play in a school gymnasium, where they practice and play games against other community groups. But it was the head coach is cousin of Larry Reese. And so Larry, who we were talking about earlier, so Larry coordinated this 20 plus years ago, and they've been playing every year since. And then when Larry retired, he offered me the opportunity to continue organizing it. And Larry still comes out and he participates. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that for example, a donation will be made to the team as part of the charity and part of the community support. But here's a team that doesn't necessarily get funding from other organizations. So if they need new equipment, we typically ask the coach, what do you need? Let us know, whether it's sticks or new pucks or helmets. This past year, we got them bags. They needed new gym bags. The ones that they had were easily 10 or 15 years old. They were falling apart, so we got them bags with their names, their numbers, the logo, and we were fortunate to have a relationship with Cliff Bar, who filled their bags with Cliff Bars. And then we had another relationship with the Tandia Financial Credit Union, who supports us in so many events. They put a bunch of great swag in there as well. So at the end of the game, which we have lost for 20 plus years, we still don't have a win. We were able to present it to these players, and it's just such a great experience to participate in that event and interact with the players who we see every year and their parents. it's definitely a highlight of the year. Every year we do it, and I think they're coming up on their 25th or 30th anniversary in a couple of years. So we're looking to try and do something big for them come that time too.
Definitely. And well, the one thing about Special Olympics is I actually interviewed Alex Bilodeau, which was our first gold medalist on Canadian soil. And his brother is CP, but he also does work with Special Olympics. And he said, like, people think it's kind of like a sympathy organization, but they are athletes and they are competitive. Like, people with Down syndrome and those kinds of disabilities are the nicest people you'll meet. But when they compete, they're there to win. They're not there to just, like, obviously to have fun, but they're competitive and they're athletic people. And it's quite impressive.
Yeah. When I said we haven't won in 20 plus years, we tried. They practice all the time. They've got the skill down, and there are some incredible athletes in this team. So again, we enjoy it so much. It's again a highlight.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of jokes over the years that they can chirp too. They'll throw some jabs at you for sure.
Yeah, I had to play net my first year, and every year the probie has to play net. That's the way it works. And some of the things that were being said, they were harsh, right? My first time in net, and they were relentless. It was great. It was great.
It's definitely awesome to see. It's definitely great for sure. And so the next one I want to touch on, because I know McMaster Hospital is more of a kids hospital, but my neuromuscular clinic is there. And so you guys have raised over $1 million over the years for the Hamilton General Hospital Foundation. What kinds of things does the donations go to?
So the one for the general is a really interesting one. So back in the late 80s, we had a member who questioned why we didn't have any hyperbaric chambers in Hamilton. We were sending patients and firefighters to Toronto, and they just said we don't have the funding, and we don't have the space, and we don't have the training for our staff. So he took it upon himself, and back in the late 80s and early 90s, somehow raised over $1 million for one hyperbaric chamber, and then had to raise funds for the special linens that went into the chambers, then for training for staff. And I don't know how they did so much. It's an incredible achievement, and they just rededicated the hyperbaric chamber facility a couple of years ago. So they now have 3 of them and are using them for more than just burns. But getting the history and learning where those funds went, how they raised it, is absolutely incredible. And we have the Hamilton Health Science Foundation as a whole, which works with the General and Jurabinski and McMaster and St. Peter's. We have such a good relationship working with them that if they have a need, we'll try and help out wherever we can. But they have fundraisers and special events every year. The Stride for the General 5K run, for example, this year, one of our members is an ambassador for the event. Captain Charlie Matter, one of our members, had an accident last year on shift at a high angle rope rescue. He unfortunately fell during that call and received incredible treatment from the General. So that happened in July 2019. And he'll be coming back to shift in September or very soon. And what we try to support those, again, that's an organization that supports our members. I mean, not in that way, but for example, when we found out how much the General needed for one of their programs, it was actually a program that Brother Matter got support with. So back in February, we made a $5,000 donation to the Acquired Brain Injury Program, and Charlie had some benefit through some of their therapists. it worked well. But we, for that specific too, but we do the McMaster airplane pull every year for McMaster Children's Hospital. Unfortunately, we can't do it this year because of COVID, but we'll still make a donation. Anytime there's something with the hospitals, we try to see what we can do. We can't do all of them. They've got so many fundraising events to go on, but we try to partner with them when and where we can, whether it's through support or donation.
Awesome. Yeah, those are some great causes for sure. And it's such a big Hamilton General Foundation is so big. Like you say, there's 4 or 5 different hospitals. So there's so many things you could donate to. And and as someone who goes there quite a bit, I thank you guys for doing that because that's big.
Well, and that's what we try to do. We try, like you said, we try to keep things local as much as we can from a donation standpoint because we want to help those people that are in our community and those people that are close to us.
Definitely. And so as my guests, most of them know, I have muscular dystrophy, and that's another one of the causes that you guys support. What kinds of things do you do for Muscular Dystrophy Canada?
So what we do is unfortunately, we do a little bit less than most departments and associations. What I've found since I've been involved in this, whereas we'll try to make 25 to 30 donations a year to local charities or organizations, and then do another 25 to 30 support events. A lot of associations and departments will pick 1 or 2 charities and support that for the year. A lot of them will do the night out in the winter or a couple nights out or a weekend. And then muscular dystrophy is a really big one that the organizations across the country support. So where they're doing a lot more, we typically have been making donations to support, and which we do when we can't get out, when we can't do the event. It comes down to us being able to make a donation. In the end, ultimately, is what they want. The funds to help the cause. So while we can't support it to the extent that we want to, we make it a priority to definitely make that monetary donation.
Definitely. And every year, like obviously, again, because of COVID, they didn't do the walk this year, but every year at the Walk for Muscular Dystrophy, we participate, like Team Clayton, and always on the donor list is the Hamilton firefighters. And like I've always noticed every year that they've done it, you guys have been on that list. So that's another thing that's dear to my heart. So it's great to see you guys helping. And moving on to the last one I wanted to touch on, because I feel like because of COVID and all of the thank yous to all the first responders, I wanted to touch on the Hamilton Bulldogs first responders game. And obviously it's very relevant right now. I mean, this year you probably couldn't do it because the season got canceled, but I'm just curious, what kinds of things do you guys do for that game, and what's your role within that?
And you know what? We were able to do it this year. It was back in late January.
Oh, wow.
So right before COVID, it was one of the last community events that we were able to do. And they've been hosting this for 4 or 5 years. And really it's a thank you to the police and paramedics and firefighters in Hamilton. And it's a great opportunity for all three branches to interact with the community. So they'll have the fire trucks down there that kids and families can check out, and police cars and ambulances and some of their specialty units. But we also go down as an association, and we set up a kids obstacle course where kid can knock down a door and pick up a hose and carry it and go through a tunnel with the confined space, and then pick up a big stuffed animal, whether it's a dog or a bear, and drag them to safety. And in the end, they get something to take home, whether it's an educational coloring book or activity book or a little fire helmet or whatever it is. But it's that interaction, letting them know that, you know what, if there's ever an issue, if there's ever something where we're in a position where you need to trust us, this is the relationship building that we want to create with families, with kids, just we're also having fun, right? It's a good time there. We appreciate their support.
Definitely, and it's good to go to a hockey game too and just relax off the job, and then just forget about your life's troubles, whatever they may be, and like you say, you help kids, and that's probably one of the best parts of the job is the children, because kids always make you feel better. It doesn't matter how bad of a day you're having, a kid always puts a smile on your face.
Oh yeah, they're great. They love this obstacle course, and just interacting with us. So, I mean, pre-COVID, it was lots of high fives and fist bumps and big smiles. So we'll have to see how it goes moving forward.
Yeah, hopefully we get back to that. I think we're all sick of COVID, but it could be a while, and we just got to keep trucking through it, because that's the thing with pandemics, is you never know when it's going to end. So hopefully soon.
Yeah, and you're right. We just keep working through. It's not going to be here forever, so we just keep our heads down and do what we're doing. Right, stay safe, do everything that we're being told to do with social distancing and wearing masks. And if we do that, we'll see safely.
Exactly, and thanks to frontline workers like you, we have stayed safe, and we're pretty lucky in Canada that we've been affected by it, but not nearly as bad as some other countries that. Obviously, south of the border, it's a little more intense than it is here. That's for sure.
It is. Yeah. No.
And yeah, no kidding. It's definitely a big thanks to all you guys, though. And well, that's about all I have for you, Brad. Thanks again for doing this. I really enjoyed it.
Clayton, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it too. This was great. Anytime you need something from me, you want me back on, I'll update you. Whatever you need, let me know. And good luck with your next set of guests.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a bit of a dry spell lately. I think because a lot of people are going back to work. It's been a little difficult to get back in it. And I've been working with the Burlington Vipers wheelchair basketball team, making some content for them just while everything's kind of slow for me. I've been able to help them, so that's good. And I'll definitely send a link out to you when it's posted. It should be up tomorrow afternoon.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Brad. Well, thanks again, and we'll stay in touch for sure.
Sounds good. Take care, Clay.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
You.
Bye.